we've got this continuing crisis in California. You have this coronavirus shutdown that is suppressing the rights and society, the rights of millions and the whole California economy and society in many ways, hurting the rest of the country as a result. And you have politicians abusing the emergency to push through policies that are illegal. At least 2 instances, Governor Newsom has done that by giving money to illegal aliens without authorization by the state legislature. We're challenging that. $75 million in money he's passing to illegal aliens using your tax dollars, or California tax dollars specifically, because we're representing taxpayers who object to that lawless behavior. The state court didn't want to enjoin it or issue a temporary restraining order, but the court found that we're likely to succeed on the merits. And then he goes ahead and he then issues a mandate on a separate issue, but also lawlessly, requiring all counties in California to mail ballots to all registered voters, even though only a few counties are frankly equipped to, under California law, and qualified to do so. And as Judicial Watch has pointed out, because we've been litigating this separately, we have a settlement, for instance, in Los Angeles County that's requiring the county to clean up 1.6 million names, or at least up to 1.6 million names. So those ballots, some have counted as many as $20 million, will be mailed to dirty lists across California, raising the prospect of election day chaos and voter fraud on a massive scale. And he doesn't have any authority to do that under the Constitution or California law. So we're suing in federal court to stop him. We're representing Congressman Darrell Issa, who's actually a former congressman seeking to get back in, and 4 voters who I believe are represent all. I think we have client voters who are Republican, Democrat, and Independent. Because, of course, the rights of everyone are harmed when you've got massive voter fraud. The left would have you believe it's, quote, oh, it's just Republicans worried about Republicans losing, or conservatives who hate liberals. No, everyone's votes would be stolen, potentially. I don't know about you. I would be outraged if a liberal voter's vote was stolen. And I'm sure there are many honest liberals out there among you who would be outraged if your neighbor, who you disagree with politically, had their civil right stolen, their franchise right stolen. The Democratic Party sought to intervene in our case. We tried to fight that. And now all these leftists are trying to intervene in our case as well. I mean, it's really a simple case. Does the governor have the authority under law to do what he's doing? It's not, in some ways, it's not even an argument about the policy. I mean, I think it's a terrible idea to do vote by mail. It increases the likelihood of fraud. It makes your vote less secure. And we've talked about all the dirty voting lists in California. In California, the reason we were suing Los Angeles County and the state to begin with was because they haven't been cleaning up their rolls for 20 years, more or less. So there's 20 years of bad names on the rolls. And that's just the inactive list. These are people that even the state acknowledges probably aren't around anymore to vote. Do you think the active list is much better? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, but of course, if he mails out the ballots, all of this is just mooted out potentially, right? So what we did is we filed on behalf of our clients, our attorneys did in California, a motion for preliminary injunction to stop Newsom, asking the court to issue an injunction to stop Newsom from mailing out the ballots. So Judicial Watch's motion highlights that this could lead to serious disputes, Newsom's plan, that would have a national impact later. And of course, once the ballots go out, you can't really do anything about it. What are you going to tell people? You can't use the ballots? So we have to stop them from going out till the court adjudicates it fully. For instance, the 117th Congress will meet on January 6, 2021 to certify each state's electoral votes. During that process, California will have the right to voice its objection to the counting of any state's electoral votes. If on that date the electoral margin between the president, the electoral margin between President Trump and Vice President Biden, or former Vice President Biden, is less than 55 electoral votes, meaning if it's close, the dispute over the legality of Newsom's executive order will take on even greater significance. Granting preliminary relief now resolves the legal question before it deteriorates into an intractable political question later. It is in the public interest to have the courts resolve this legal question to ensure that California's electors are counted. I mean, this is so irresponsible that Newsom could throw the vote of every Californian effectively out in terms of the presidential election. That's what would happen. So we're trying to prevent that from happening. We want the votes of every Republican and every Democrat to be voted. Excuse me. We want the votes of every Democrat and every Republican to be counted and considered in the presidential election, in the least. And that's all endangered by Newsom's unlawful ballot plan to flood the mails with millions of ballots without authority. As I say, it could not only is it a violation of law, but it could lead to a constitutional conflagration. Excuse me. I don't use that word that often, so I got to say it before I know what it sounds like. Constitutional conflagration, right? Do you want the elections in 2020 to be decided in the ordinary course, where you just count the votes? Or do you just want to have it debated by Congress? And have it decided by Congress, essentially, because California's electoral votes get thrown out because of Newsom's shady scheme. So don't lecture me about suppressing the vote. Don't lecture me about voter rights. Judicial Watch is on the side of voter rights. Judicial Watch wants the votes to be counted. It's the left that's trying to screw up our elections, in my view, to set up the steal. They're trying to scare you from voting in person. It's a power grab. And your voting rights are secondary to everything else. I mean, there's even a recent study that noted, and this is out of Stanford University, so this was just this year. There are concerns around vote by mail relating to preserving election integrity and voter confidence in the process. Voter confidence in the process. If voters don't have confidence in the process, that's another reason they won't vote. When a voter votes from home, they are doing so outside the supervision of election officials. Opportunities for foul play occur throughout the chain of custody of the ballot, beginning with how a voter requests a ballot and then receives, completes, and returns it. Do you understand that? If you're a supporter of Judicial Watch, I'm sure you do, but those of you who think that vote by mail is a panacea, it ain't. It ain't. So the whining you hear is my poor dog crying in the next room because she obviously hears someone outside or probably another dog walking by. So that's the crying. It's not a kid, it's a dog who just wants to get out and play. So we'll see what the court does. As I said, these leftist groups are trying to come in. The Democratic Party overcame our objections, and the court allowed them in. Democratic Party organizations, I think it was the Democratic Congressional Committee, and the state Democratic Party. I'm still trying to figure out why it is they made the argument that they had an interest in this. They admitted they would benefit if this scheme prevailed. So you've got the Democratic Party saying that they need this in order to win this illegal scheme by Newsom. But, that's the argument they made. You can read the briefs. Go ahead and read the briefs. They say they had an interest in having this work because they thought their voters or their candidates might lose if it didn't work. Sending tens of millions of ballots in the mail to dirty election lists and who knows who. It's terrible. But once again, it's Judicial Watch in court doing this, fighting it. And we do it with your support.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.